God didn't intend us to
Yeah.
be lonely,
Yeah.
especially within a marriage.
Here's a key thing too. You need to have a secure attachment to really challenge that loneliness. And that's where you really feel known and seen. You can be yourself. You feel accepted. You feel connected. You
Hmm.
feel secure. You don't question, does this person really love me? Do they like me for who I am? You both feel loved and accepted for who you really are. And there's a deep friendship and there's acceptance and commitment.
Hey, thanks for checking out another episode. We are back, and today we're going to talk about why you may feel lonely in your marriage, and not just that, obviously, but what to do to fix it.
I think it's probably a pretty common problem. We'll get into some data about that, right?
To clarify what we mean by this in terms of feeling lonely, like you can share your home with someone, you can share your bank accounts, you can share your children, you can share your bed with your spouse. You can be married for any number of years, really. This is not applicable to any particular range of marriage. This is really universal. And you can find yourself, we had a lot of conversation about this right before we started recording. Like you can find yourself in a spot where you feel very lonely and isolated, which is a weird thought, right? It is a weird thought to have. But so yeah, as you mentioned, Jamie, like we'll go into what this actually means. We'll talk about research behind it, which hopefully puts your minds at ease if this is how you're feeling. And we'll get into a biblical explanation of what this means and how the Bible combats this. And then ultimately, like, we want to leave listeners with a clear path forward, right?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Think about it like this. If you're sitting across from your spouse and you feel further away than the night you met, or you almost think, I'd feel better if I was alone right now. That's kind of a crazy thought. Or I'd feel less lonely if this person wasn't sitting with me, I guess is more so what I'm trying to say.
I think it's important what you just said, because it's similar to like the saying that you could be in a room full of people, right? But you still feel so alone and isolated. That's marital loneliness. And what it is not is, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you are alone in feeling alone. And I know we're going to talk about the research. You can kind of bring us into this next area of the podcast, but like, what does scripture say about it? What does scripture say about the unification of bringing together two people that are alone, like a man and a woman, and bringing them together as husband and wife? And what does God's word say about that? I think it's very important that we break that down for the listeners today. But just to like quickly level set, like that's the loneliness that we're talking about. So,
Well, yeah, and I think like you just said with the whole marital loneliness thing, it's like having like proximity, but there's no presence or connection. It's different than being single and physically by yourself. Because you can be alone and not be lonely.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people who have.
Well, what do you mean by
So,
that?
like, if you're not in a relationship, but you have strong connections, you have good friends, you're close to family members, you have a good inner, like, confidence, you're connected to God, you can be at home alone, just going about your day feeling you're not lonely at all.
Right. Yeah.
Versus you can have somebody who's in a marriage where we'll get into the reasons for loneliness, but they're with their partner all the time, but they literally just feel completely alone and lonely.
And I think too, that's interesting you put it that way, because even the singleness with friends versus like a spouse relationship, I think, and I can't think of a very strong time where I've felt this way, but I can honestly say like I could see how that would happen, because it's not supposed to be that way. So then when things are a way they're not supposed to be, like loneliness, well, I'm married, I have a spouse who I'm with all the time. We share all these things
Why do I
together in our
feel
life.
this?
Why do I feel this way? And that kind of just sends you into a bit of a spiral, right? So I'm sure the listeners that are feeling this way,
Maybe that's where some people feel like, what's wrong with me?
right?
I shouldn't be lonely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do want to say this is where you do have to be cautious, because some people will say, oh, if you don't want to be lonely anymore, just go find a partner and get married. And then they don't really put a lot of thought into who they choose, because they're trying to fix that lonely problem.
Right.
So that's a side
No,
note.
that's a good point. I mean, we do talk, just a quick side note. We do, obviously this podcast is for married couples who want to thrive in their marriage and better themselves. But I do think there's a lot of nuggets in here for single people that aspire to be married. So I think that's a good call out. Maybe just to quickly transition into we talked about research a minute ago. So kind of naming what it means when we talk about loneliness in your marriage. A relationship study found that between 20 and 60% of partners report loneliness in their relationship. Some surveys put that benchmark at 30%. So
Okay.
right away, to level set, like if you feel,
That's a big number.
yeah, if this is you, like 30%, 3 in 10 relationships are feeling lonely while living with their spouse, by the way. So
Wow.
this is a specific about marriage. And then further, another study found that 47% of people feel lonely, and that 43% felt that their relationship lacked meaning.
Wow.
And these are just 2 things we pulled out, by the way. There was a lot of information that was available from various studies. I think one of them was Cigna Healthcare. We've got some psychology studies that were done and other behavioral things, but
And I think that loneliness comes gradually when things aren't going the way they should. I think it's a slow process to get you to that lonely place in your marriage.
As opposed to like one big event.
Yeah, like we got married and a week later I felt lonely. That can I personally believe that can happen when you marry someone who you have a lot of doubts about and you had no
You do
business
it anyway.
marrying them.
Yeah.
That could be a very quick feeling. You could get married to the wrong person and
It's like, what have I done?
yeah, that's for real.
Yeah.
I've heard it.
Yeah.
Like right at the
I don't mean to
honeymoon
make
or
light of it.
it's a
It's
terrible,
serious
sad thing. That's why when I do talk to single people, I am really like, hey, if you have doubts, if you question it, if you're not sure, and I know a lot of people would disagree with me. Oh, they're a good person. You guys do well
They love
together.
God.
You should get married because that's the most important thing. Just do it anyway. No. Like if you're doubting and you're not sure,
Right.
you should wait. You should wait until you feel more confident or walk away.
I think the misconception would be that there was some catastrophic event that caused it. Infidelity, a job that completely pulls one spouse away from their family.
Yep.
Making a choice that maybe a husband and wife are not unified in. Like there's any number we could go through, like any number of like major events that could cause this to happen. But I think the argument you're making, and I would agree, like it's death by paper cuts, right? Like it's 1,000 small moments that accumulated rather than one major.
And if speaking on that, so there's John Gottman, renowned expert in this area, the area of marriage, does a lot of research. So he refers to something called bids for connection.
Okay.
This is a small attempt to connect.
Okay.
So that could be like a comment, a sigh, a glance, a reach for your hand. And he found that couples who stayed happily married turned toward bids 86% of the time. Couples who divorced only did that 33% of the time. So to give more context to that, it would be if you were suddenly like clearly trying to get my attention that you're feeling
Bothered
something.
by something. Yeah.
And I say, hey, what's going on? I just heard you sigh. Did something happen today? And then you start telling me something that happened that bothered you. Are you laughing because you feel like it should be the other way? It's normally the other way around. But
well, I think I'm outing myself because
you're very good
I
at this,
mean,
by the way.
well, thank you.
I never feel like
But
you
I was going
ignore
to
my
say, like,
bits.
have there been times in my mind where I'm like, I know you're trying to get attention with that very deep, unnatural, loud breathing motion, and I'm going to pretend I didn't hear it, or I'll admit, like, there's times where like I don't want to know what's going on. I don't have
Luckily,
time for this
that's
right
only
now.
14% of the time, so we're okay because 86%. And I think that's a good point because even if in the moment you're like, what is it? But you still turn toward and then you're there for your partner, that still counts. Now you need to check yourself if like your partner's bids for connection are getting on your nerves all the time. That's a sign that something's wrong.
Yeah. I think it's funny because when I first read this phrase, like bids for connection, and for those that don't know, Jamie is a therapist, so she does this sort of thing for a living. I do not. I thought, bids for connection, what the heck is this going to be
I'm
about?
not surprised.
And then I was then I was reading it though, and I thought, like, it was very convicting. I'll just be honest, as a husband speaking to husbands on this, like, there have been times where I feel like I do a really crappy job at this. Like you might come in for a kiss or a hug or whatever, and I kind of act pretty dismissive, or it's like a peck on the cheek instead of like, I know you want like a longer kiss or a longer hug.
Can't believe you're confessing that.
I'm being serious. I really do think that to go into it, like splinter us into another part of the topic, but I think awareness on this is so important, like even for us hosting this episode, like it's a good reminder for us is like to be in tune with what your spouse is trying to get from
But can I
you.
speak on that?
Yeah.
Because I'll just say this, I'm a very, very physical, affectionate,
Mm-hmm.
touchy person.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you react a certain way, to me, that's kind of like your bid. And I will say, I'll just be honest, like how I feel. Like, oh, that was rude. Well, why I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to hug you, and you might say, well, I just got done working. I just need a few minutes, or
Mm-hmm.
like, can you wait a second? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're less touchy than me,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
I can choose to respect that.
Well, here's the interesting thing, like we were talking about. They, in all seriousness, the stat was couples who stay happily married turn towards that bid for connection, meaning you reciprocate. That's the way I interpret that, right?
You respond to
Yeah,
it.
okay, better said. Yeah, you respond to the bid
Mm-hmm.
86% of the time. Couples who divorced only 33% of the time. And you
That
can
says a lot.
see how, like in the example that we just gave, even in our marriage, we just shared a couple different examples, like where I told you, like, I felt convicted by this one. Like, that's not my intention. Do you know what I mean? And so that's the challenge, like really quick to hit this in the episode right now. That's the challenge for those of you listening, husband or wife. Like if this is like, okay, that's interesting. Never heard that phrase before, or unaware of that situation, or unaware of bids for connection as I was. Like great gut check to say like, okay, next time so and so tries to initiate a conversation, or next time like I feel a hand on my back, or next time, whatever the situation is, like you gave some examples. Are you going to respond to it or ignore it, or respond like with either aggression or aversion?
Yeah. And it can be anything. It can
Yeah.
be, oh, I'm so excited because something great happened. It's like, oh, that's cool. And then you walk away. That's not turning toward.
Yeah.
Or like, gosh, I had such a rough day. And then
Mhm.
your partner responds with, okay. And they don't
So
ask
did
you a
I.
question.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, they
Yeah.
to make it about themselves. So
Yeah.
turn toward is, well, what happened? Are you okay? I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Can you like tell me more or
Mhm.
whatever? It could even be like I'm thinking of some are less obvious. Like I've thought of how like you're very much a doer in acts of service.
Mhm.
And sometimes I just don't notice things that you do.
Mhm.
And that's kind of a similar way that I can miss it.
Mhm.
I remember early on, like you'd wash my car and like 3 days later, like, how do you think your car looked? I'm like, looks good. I didn't even notice that you
That's a good
washed it.
point. Yeah.
So then I start paying more attention. Okay,
Yeah.
be aware of the things that your partner's doing, the
Mhm.
way they're trying to get your attention, so that you do better next time.
Yeah.
Because maybe you're not so good at it at first. You don't even mean to.
Mhm.
And then I would think on the other side, if you're missing those bids, it could be because there's resentment, there's annoyance.
Mhm.
You don't like your partner.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
want to engage with them. That's another issue.
Yeah.
And I think we talk about that in some of our other episodes about like resentment
Yeah.
and whatnot. But
Well, you bring up a good point, and I didn't even think about that connection when we were like planning for the episode, like integrating the love languages into that. Like you're spot on. That is such a great call out, because like even using the two examples we gave, you with physical touch and me with more or less like words of affirmation, like I'm high in that area. So you're right. Like spouses, be on the lookout. Like if you know what your husband or wife's love language is, you could kind of expect that. I know I'm being a little presumptuous here, but you could kind of expect that their bids for connection are going to line up with
that's very true.
love languages, right?
Yeah, and just emotional needs in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that could be needs for affection, needs for affirmation, needs for
Yeah.
whatever it respect. Like
Yeah.
it could be anything. Well, that goes back to just knowing each other really well, like really being close friends and
Yeah.
taking the time to be curious and get to know your partner as much as you possibly can, starting from day one, so that you are aware of what their bids are.
Right.
The more you know them, the more you're gonna know, oh, she's trying to get my attention.
Yeah. No, that is good.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe to just wind this area down, loneliness is the accumulation of these missed connection opportunities. It's not the absence of love per se. It could be, of course, but it's really like that adding up, like we talked about earlier. Like it's the culmination of a bunch of different things, not one catastrophic event for the most part.
Yeah. Well, and can I say for people listening, it is okay to talk about this stuff openly and ask questions, as weird as that sounds, to where like, hey, I'm trying to make a bid for connection right now. That might sound weird, but your partner might not know because they're unaware and they're not paying attention.
Yeah.
And if that's you and your partner says, hey, you just missed my bid for connection, and you're the one who never seems to notice, stop and ask yourself, why
Mm-hmm.
don't I ever pick up on it? What is
Yeah.
going on? Am I being selfish? Am I thinking of myself? Am I ignoring my partner?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
call it out.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's a good point to do that right now. Like even
Mm-hmm.
think about is there something this last week that you can, and trust me, I bet every single one of you are thinking
Mm-hmm.
like either you didn't miss anything and life went on as normal and that's great,
Mm-hmm.
but the chances are that there's some form. I know, I mean, I can think of things like there's I shared it earlier. To some degree, the chances are you can think of a specific time where you shut down one of these connection opportunities.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, I'll put this one on you because I was doing a little bit of research on this before we recorded. So
Mm-hmm.
keeping with John Gottman, like world-renowned psychologist, relationship expert, we talk about him a lot. He's got this, and we'll throw the visual up on the episode, but the distance and isolation cascade. I was doing a little bit of research here. Super interesting. This pattern, this behavior pattern that ultimately like starts with one incident, one psychological reaction, and then it all ultimately culminates in like it could end in divorce, right? Like, can you talk us through that?
I mean, yeah, I'll just speak of it like high level. So
Mhm.
there's events that happen that can
Mhm.
cause emotional distress, which
Okay.
can lead to flooding, which that's basically when you're under such emotional distress, your nervous system, it kind of like goes into fight or flight.
Okay.
And then after that, you really what you need, that brings on a lot of negative emotion. You need to repair.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're dealing with a marriage where you're not turning toward, you're turning away,
Okay.
repair is very difficult. So it's hard to resolve issues when you're turning away. That's
Mm-hmm.
why this whole thing is so important. And then when you turn away, especially when there's flooding, negative emotion, unresolved issues, that makes loneliness really strong
Mm-hmm.
because you literally feel alone in your struggles, alone
Mm-hmm.
in your feelings, alone in the marriage. You're not
Mm-hmm.
turning toward, you're not connecting, you're not repairing issues. And then I think when there's all that loneliness that continues to go on without resolution, without repair,
Which
that's
is a
where,
key thing to highlight. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where that separation, eventual divorce comes in because
Mm-hmm.
people start saying, like, I feel like I'm alone in this marriage, or I don't even feel like you're my partner. We're not teammates. We're
Mm-hmm.
not resolving things. Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If we can't, and then often they try to make those attempts to repair, it doesn't work, then the marriages,
Right.
they
Ends.
end.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happens. So that's why I think Gottman has such great points on why that turning toward is so important,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only way, like turning toward just in general. I think
Mm-hmm.
that it's not always negative. It can be a good thing. Like, oh my gosh, I had such a great lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what'd you guys talk about? What happened? How's
Mm-hmm.
everything going? Did you feel encouraged? What did she say? Like just asking questions, being curious, turning toward,
Yeah.
versus the negative side where it's like you have a conflict. I'm going to turn toward you
Avert.
and try to resolve it. So
Yeah.
there's multiple aspects
Yeah.
of turning toward. And then I think when that's happening, you can resolve things. You can repair things. Things are better. You feel cared for and seen.
Yeah, that's good. And I think like the key point, you touched on this, but the key point is like between the loneliness and separation stages of this model, like that's where you need to really be aggressive and hit this head on, because you can, it's like the fork in the road. Okay, we continue as is. And maybe it's like a gradual divorce or a gradual like horrible marriage. And one statistic that we cite all the time on this podcast and blogs, books, whatever, is that 6 out of 10 marriages that stay together claim that they're unhappy. So to me, like that's
It's
one
as
outcome.
bad.
It's divorce. It's a horribly unhappy marriage. Or the other path, the other fork in the road that you can take, like you said, is between like that loneliness and then separation. Okay, we're going to correct this. Like we're both going to be mindful about this. I love that you talked about earlier talking about it together. Like you don't have to. You can each work on this individually and consciously be aware that you're going to turn towards each other, as Gottman says. But I think making that conscious decision to repair
Yeah.
is
It has to
critical,
be
and it's
conscious
not too
too.
late. Yeah.
And I think that's why stopping and owning that loneliness
Mm-hmm.
and just being honest, because you can feel lonely and not admit it to your partner.
Yeah.
You can keep it to yourself indefinitely and just
Yeah.
suffer quietly. But I think when you start to feel it, like, okay, I feel lonely. Maybe every now and then everybody can feel lonely when they're with someone. Like but if it's a pervasive thing, it's persistent.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't lift. Okay,
Yeah.
that's when you need to address it and say, what's going on here? It could
Mhm.
be that you're not there for each other, that you're not connecting, that you're turning away and not
Mhm.
turning toward. What can we do about it? That's
Yeah.
where the journey of figuring out if both of you are willing to do what needs to be done to fix it
Is essential.
begins.
Yeah.
If not, that's going to end a certain way. But,
Well, and you mentioned this before we hopped on, that neuroscience has proven that relational loneliness activates the same brain pathways as physical pain.
mhm.
And
It can
that's,
hurt in your body. I mean, that's what I do as a therapist.
yeah.
Somatic work, physical,
Yeah.
brain body connection type stuff. Your painful emotions are felt physically in different ways,
Which is
often
crazy.
mimicking actual physical
Mhm.
conditions. I see that that's what I do.
Mhm.
I'm always asking people, okay, you feel sad. Where do you feel that in your body? Instantly, it's like, "Oh, my chest hurts, or my stomach, I have pain in my stomach, or my head. I mean,
Mhm.
I hear every area that you can imagine. My
Mhm.
shoulders are sore, pain in the back.
Mhm.
Like, I hear it all. So
That's caused from
it's
mental
it's that
and
psychological, physical response to your emotional distress. It is felt in the body.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you could literally be walking around in physical pain because of your loneliness.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's science. I mean, that's
Mhm.
neuroscience backed. Shifting gears a little bit, like we're going to talk a little bit about what God's word says about loneliness. And one of the key verses, like I'm sure everyone's heard it or a version of it in Genesis chapter 2, it talks about, God saw that it wasn't good for man to be alone. And so he created Eve as a helper for him. And by the way, helper in that context, just quickly on this, like to do the work that he's called Adam to do, right? Like it's cultivating the earth, it's taking care
Yeah.
of what God created.
It's
So
not
it's
a
not
servant or a slave.
yeah, it's not a
Bring
so
me my coffee and my sandwich. That's not
before
what.
you go into like making any comment about that, what I thought was interesting here, and then I'd love your comment on this, but like so Genesis 2, that's verse 18, by the way. God names, and I know I said this to you before we hopped on for the episode. God calls that out before Adam even understands what that emotion is. And I mean, just think about this. I know none of us can empathize with Adam, right? Like, what would it be like to be the only person on earth? Like, Adam didn't know any different. He didn't know that there could be other people like him on earth. He didn't have any feelings. He didn't have any emotions about it yet. And God, the fact that God anticipated that, of course he did. He's God. But that was fascinating to me because I've never heard it put that way or thought that way. God anticipated a problem with Adam's loneliness, and he created a wife for him.
Yep.
So the ache of loneliness is not a character flaw. And I think it's important for people to hear that out there. Like
God created you for connection.
Yes.
And that was pre-sin entering the world, which is really incredible to me for me to think about.
Yep.
God said something wasn't good. It's not good for him to be alone before there was any sin.
Yeah.
So he made us to connect with him and to connect with other people.
Right.
And back to that helper thing real quick, just because I know it's a hot topic. Like the word used in the original language is the same word used to describe God. And God, when he was there for the Israelites in the wilderness and various other situations. So we can't demean women to this. You're the helper. You do what I say and you take care of my needs. So we just want to throw that out.
Yeah, not what it means at all. Yeah. Speaking of connection, I love, and we've used this example a lot, like the marriage triangle. And for those that haven't seen it, maybe we can splash a picture of it up on this screen here too. But if you imagine a triangle, bottom two corners, you've got husband and wife, and at the top, you've got God. And the concept of it is simply here is as you both together move towards God, you should be also strengthening your bond. If you think about as you move towards the pinnacle of a triangle, the two sides get closer together. So that's the whole point there. I love that. I think we've seen it play out in our marriage. Now, of course, like there have been different times in our marriage, 14, 15 years where, you're obviously not going up the triangle at the same pace. Your starting point might not be the same. Like I know people will break this down or debunk it, but that's okay. The point is if you're both making progress towards God at the top, you're going to be drawing closer together. And if that means sometimes one of you slips a little bit, the other one picks up the pace, whatever that looks like, it's going to ebb and flow throughout marriage. But
Yep.
I just love that visual. Is a good one.
And I think too that even highlights the importance of moving toward God together, doing
Yeah.
things. We've talked about that a lot. There's other scriptures too. Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 12 really highlight that point that we're built to be with others. We're built for
Right.
that. It says two are better than one. They have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to hold them, to help them up. Also,
That's
if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. I love that. And that does kind of give me some sorrow in my heart and compassion for people who are still alone. Just know that God's with you and there's nothing wrong with you. He has a plan for each of us that looks different, timing that looks different. My recommendation, what I've always told people, is seek God. And like his word says, seek me first in my kingdom and righteousness, and everything else will be added. Your life should be seeking him and doing everything he asks you to do and living in obedience. And then he'll lead you where you need to go and bring you the right partner as you're actively pursuing him and seeking him.
Yeah. I like that. And I like that we're emphasizing that it doesn't mean you're broken as an individual or even that your marriage is broken. It just means you need to get it repaired. It doesn't mean it's broken. It just means you need to tweak some things. I mean, everybody's marriage is different, so don't mishear me on that. But I think like let's move into, there's some tools. We've kind of talked about what the research says. We've talked about some psychologists talking about like things to be aware of and patterns of behavior. We've now talked about God's word and the challenge that we have there. So I like the start small concept in terms like, well, what do we do about it? Being aware. We talked a lot about the bids for connection earlier. I think just start with noticing one thing a day. If you're at a ground floor 0,
there's a lot of room to go up.
Yeah, you're in the basement, you're trying to get to the lobby. Forget trying to like just knock it out of the park. Like just move forward. When your wife reaches for your hand, grab it. When you, at the end of the day, you're tired, and we've done this a lot. We've talked about it pretty vulnerably in other episodes. At the end of the day, when we're laying in bed and we don't feel like praying, we just did this last night. Like I really didn't feel like it, but I held your hand or touched your leg and we prayed together. Like those are connecting moments for you as a couple. So small, consistent behaviors become a habit.
And it goes a long way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, if you haven't done this, if you've been ignoring your partner's bids and you start noticing them and you one a day, 2 a day, keeps building, your partner is going to notice this and it's going to be really amazing and really powerful.
Yeah. This one too, this next one we have, and you're big on this because of obviously like what you do in helping individuals with therapy, but like reframing questions instead of making accusatory statements. And I think like as a parent, I'm sure some of you listening, like we try to do this with our kids, like the whole you never, you always, all my friends this, none of my friends that, the extreme statements. It's funny, by the way, when you hear your child say it, but then you catch yourself doing the same thing. So, instead of making a fight out of things, like ask questions. So for example, like, are we good? Rather than saying like, you never talk to me anymore. Hey, I miss you. Or I've been missing you lately.
I feel like, do you feel connected to me? Because I've been struggling to feel like is something wrong. You're joining in together, trying to figure out what's going on versus accusing. I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of some good tools, like start small and then watch like the accusatory language. Accusatory language just does not get you anywhere. We've done some episodes on like conflict and conflict resolution, and that was a theme in that episode as well. Especially making the extreme always and never statements or the you statements, like really just reframing that into questions or like you said, I feel statements that takes a little bit of that blunt delivery off. And instead it facilitates a conversation, which is ultimately what you want. You both want that.
I think another important thing is for you individually if you start noticing the bids for connection and you feel a lack of interest in turning toward, you need to sit with that and ask yourself, why, when I notice the bid, because I notice it, why do I not care? Why do I not want to turn toward my partner? What is going on for me?
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about self-awareness to death. I think it's like the most critical part of any relationship.
Agree.
The problems that you have in relationships can all honestly, many of them can go back to a lack of self-awareness and a lack of a willingness once you are aware to do anything about it. That destroys relationships. So if you're noticing the bids and you're also noticing that you don't want to turn toward, that is a big sign that something's very wrong, and you need to ask yourself why. Why do I not want to turn toward, and challenge yourself on that, and then ask, what do I need to do about it?
Yeah, total 100% agree. So maybe to recap, you're not alone. This is very common. We talked about that right up front. The key is that you don't let it become in that kind of cascade that we talked about with Gottman, where you start that slow regression into separation and ultimately divorce. Notice where you're at, address it, ask those real questions like in the tools that we just talked about, and then build the connection.
Just start turning toward a little bit at a time. Noticing when there's a bid, choosing to turn toward versus away.
Yeah, and that's the homework for the week, right? Is do it once per day minimum. Be aware of it, notice it, and turn towards it. And just remember, like, God built us for connection. So that'd be the only other challenge. Like, you're not alone. Yes, that's true. However, you're also right in identifying that you feel lonely. And the reason you feel lonely is because God didn't intend us to be lonely, especially within a marriage.
Well, and if you're with a person, here's a key thing too. And this goes back to like attachment. You need to have a secure attachment to really feel, to really challenge that loneliness. And that's where you really feel known and seen. You can be yourself. You feel accepted. You feel connected. You feel it's secure. You don't question, does this person really love me? Do they like me for who I am? You both feel loved and accepted for who you really are. And there's a deep friendship, and there's acceptance and commitment. You trust each other. All of those things are really important too, to help fight against the loneliness. So.
No, that's good. That's good. Thanks for joining us this week. Please subscribe, leave a review, give us your feedback. We've shared plenty of times how you can get in touch with us, social media or on our website, aboldmarriage.com. But thanks for being here, and we'll see you on the next one.